was really loud. Check 1, 2. Hey, hey, hey. Okay. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we've kicked off this handstand immersion. We've done a lot with the wrists, and we started off the last practice with understanding that L shape. We'll continue with that L shape, but we'll also do some hip opening to help us access that L shape. As we learned, probably you learned when doing it on the ground, on your back, the hamstring flexibility for most of us stops at that L position. Now, it is useful if you can go beyond the L position and I got to be really mindful about explaining this, from your strength. It's useful. If it's just flexibility, then what happens in a handstand, if you have really flexible hamstrings, it's great. But if you can't control, meaning you can't activate those hamstrings in order to manipulate where your legs are in space, then it'll always be a guessing game and you'll never really quite be able to balance an L pose handstand. So we want to develop strength and flexibility of the hamstrings. And we started doing that a bit by developing the awareness in Warrior 3. I asked you to tuck your standing sit bone down. That activates the hamstrings. It's very hard to activate the hamstrings in yoga, and that's the unfortunate thing with yoga, is that it's so gravitationally oriented, and because we're confined to this little space, while we can really do a lot with the body and body awareness, and for the most part, I'd say yoga accomplishes 95% of what we need to have a strong, healthy body. But what it doesn't, I'll put it this way, you can certainly access, but it makes it harder to activate muscles like the hamstrings. Also the pulling muscles like the rhomboids. You'll see that, if you practice with me for a while, I focus a lot on trying to activate the muscles that often are not strengthened in the yoga practice, because as hard as, even if you put a lot of effort into it and a lot of repetition within the yoga practice, it's still minimal compared to what these muscles are capable of. So we have to do it a lot, repetitiously, often. As the Yoga Sutras state, we have to be repetitive about our practice in order for a pattern to stick, in order for a new system of movement to be in place, or new system of being in our physical body. And that being said, that's what we're doing in our asana practice. Abhyasa, again, this is the idea of this sort of recursiveness, we come to our mat yet again. Recursive meaning it happens again. That's what the world of Prakriti, as Patanjali states to us, is the world of recursiveness. It's the world of repetition. It's the world of change and transformation. Maybe transformation is not the best word for that, but it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. It's constantly in this movement, and it's always cyclical at the same time. Even though it's constantly expanding, it's expanding within its own cycles, okay? And what Patanjali says is, if you want to not get knocked over by the waves, you sort of have to become the wave, meaning you have to become the cycle. You have to become the recursiveness. So what he says, abhyasa, is you create this practice that is recursive, that you don't just, one and done on your yoga mat, you step back in. And in that way, you take power as a being of Prakriti, as a being of nature. You take power of your own nature. That is, you can also be just like the seasons and show up, the same way, always expanding, always developing, but continuously showing up, just like spring shows up every single year, right? Just like winter, just like summer. And yes, there is cycles within all the cycles, meaning sometimes you show up, fierce and strong and powerful, and other times you show up and it's more calm and relaxed. And sometimes you show up to build upper body strength and forearm wrist strength. Other times you're showing up to build flexibility and this or that. Okay, so my point being is, we practice abhyasa, as Patanjali suggests, that continuous or recursive, or that cyclical style of practice where we continuously step back onto our mat, to keep working. So now you've got some things. It doesn't end there, right? It's like, oh, cool. A lot of you posted a lot of great videos. I really appreciate everything you shared. So awesome to see your effort. And of course, a lot of success as well. So congratulations on that. And now we just continue that. We build off of that so that we don't lose what you've gained, but rather we keep building on. The moment that we kind of fall back a little bit and release our abhyasa, our repetition, then what happens is we lose what we've gained. And then the next time we come back to our mat, whenever that is, we have to regain. And it's a constant, like climbing up a hill made of sand, a mountain made of sand. It's like you don't get anywhere. And so that's why there must be a recursiveness. And also when Patanjali explains, I guess maybe he doesn't necessarily explain, but I think he assumes that we understand that because we are prakritic, because we're a part of nature, we're constantly, I guess this is really my own interpretation, so I won't put it on Patanjali. But because we're beings of nature and all things in nature are patterned, right? They're cyclical, they're recursive. If we don't do the patterning ourselves, the patterning gets done to us. It's like we get, for example, in a very small way, if you don't step into your physical body and practice asana or do things that strengthen it, and then the body will be completely, what's the word? A slave to whatever is happening to it. So if that is sitting all day, it'll take that shape of seat. The muscles in the front body will shorten here. The muscles of the shoulders will shorten. The back body will lengthen, and it'll take on that pattern that it has been kind of like been put upon it, right? And then it will get really good at that pattern. Unfortunately, that pattern we know probably isn't the best for us, most of us. So what Patanjali kind of says is make your own patterns. And what I'm interpreting is make your own patterns, abhyasa, make your own patterns. And that way, if you create, and you will, by the way, create patterns maybe that don't serve you, and they'll be created by you. But because you're the one that made the pattern, it's much easier to unwind it, and it's much easier to intentionally create a new one that does. Along this path of intentionality, when you take action on purpose, yes, you will make mistakes, but you'll know how those mistakes were made. Whereas most of us live in a very unconscious, a very unpresent life, and we're not sure how we hurt that part of our body or how that happened. We weren't present to it. It just happened, right? But there was definitely day-to-day routines that created that. And it's in all of us, and that's the thing. It's like, no matter how long you practice, there are things that don't serve us that are constantly, patterns are being created. So the only option we really have is to continuously wake up and to make choices and take action based on those choices. Waking up, we make choices and take action. And through that, we become empowered to be the pattern maker. Yes, of course, you're still a being of nature. You're still going to get older. You're still going to die, right? These are all going to be there. But with the time that we have, we make the most of it. We deliver or we live the best experience that we can. Whatever is possible for us, we step into that. All right, let's get started today. And we'll start right on our back and with the exercise we closed with last time. And that's L pose on the back. Start with your right knee towards your chest. And we're gonna do something a little bit, evolved from that experience. So you'll bring your right knee as close to the chest as possible. Take your arms overhead. Pull your front ribs down. So when your knee comes into your chest and your arms go overhead, at this point here, if your left leg is turned in, which is the straight leg, what's probably happening is your tailbone is kind of untucking a little bit. And while, that's great for the lumbar, we're going to try to maybe just change that or develop another way of doing things. And that is to help us understand how to control our midsection when we're upside down. So for that particular purpose, I'd like you to tuck your tail a little bit. You'll even feel your left heel drags back slightly in order to do so. Firm the left quadriceps and then pull your front ribs down So your front rib cage where it meets the abdominals, pull it down into the ground, trying to get the mid back on the ground. Okay, so normally when we're trying to work on lumbar curvature, we wouldn't be doing this, but since we're trying to work on controlling our midsection in a handstand, this is the intention for today. Okay, so shoulders up towards the ears, reach as far as you can. Rib cage down into the ground. Now lift your left heel 1 centimeter off the ground. It's a very small amount. And then straighten through the right leg, but don't let the left knee leave your chest. Keep it tight in as possible. Tighten and just try to straighten the right leg, okay? Then rebend and pull the knee into the chest. Left heel is just hovering off the ground. Ribs are on the ground. Okay, then straighten the right leg again, trying to keep the right thigh close to your chest. Okay, bend the knee again. Ribs are on the ground, tailbone's tucked, left heel is just an inch or so off the ground. Straighten the arms. Again, straighten through the right leg, keeping the right leg as close to your chest as possible. Okay, and then release. Wonderful. So that should be very challenging. If it's not, then try to reassess, maybe rewind and rewatch that again and see if you can kind of figure out where the instructions are not landing in your physical body. Maybe just continue now, but after class, revisit this. Okay, so the right leg is pointing, kneecap and thigh pointing up to the sky. Left knee pulls tight into the chest as possible. Okay, that's using your hip flexor muscles. But because the left knee is bent, your leg comes into the chest a little bit easier than if your left leg was straight, because the hamstrings will fight you when the leg is straight. So the idea here is we're going to try to keep the leg close to the chest, even as I'm going to show you for a moment. As the leg straightens, I'm trying to pull the thigh to my chest. And that's going to be hip flexors and deep core, like the psoas muscle activating to do so. Okay, so keep the knee tight to the chest and bring the arms overhead, straighten the elbows. Let's go through the checklist. Right leg turns in, tailbone tucks, and front ribs come down to the ground, meaning your back is planted on the earth. Keeping the tailbone tucked, ribs down, and the back planted on the earth, you might notice, and I noticed, that my right knee, the straight leg, started to bend. So I straighten the leg again. Arms overhead, shoulders towards the ears, ribs down. Now, lift your right leg up 1 centimeter. Very small amount, okay? That's what makes it hard. The higher you lift it, the easier it is. Now try to straighten the left leg without letting the thigh go away from your chest. So keep it close. Try to reach your foot over your head, basically. Okay, then bend the knee. Left thigh close to your chest. Tailbone tucked, ribs down. Straighten again. Keep the left thigh close to your chest. Shoulders to the ears, arms straight, ribs in, tailbone tucked. One more time. Straighten, left leg, keeping the thigh close to the chest as possible. Right leg just barely hovering. Okay, bend the knee and then release. All right, that should be a nice strong activation of the core to get us started. Now let's do a handstand on our back, a straight handstand. That is, take both legs now straight. And I suggest pointing the feet and squeezing the ankles together. Now, a lot of people have trouble with squeezing the ankle bones together, and they think it's because of their bone structure. Sometimes, very rarely, it is. More often than not, it's because the foot doesn't have the strength to evert, which is to turn the toes outward, okay? Which makes the inner ankle accessible. So turn your toes outward while pointing, and you'll get these outer muscles called the fibularis muscles active. And turn your thighs inward, and it'll be at least closer, if not able to touch the ankle bones together, okay? Still might be hard, and it takes time. It's not like those muscles are just instantly strong, the fibularis muscles, that is. So, and also you have to develop flexibility in order to do that as well. So you do your best, try to get your inner ankles to pin together, and then squeeze your legs together. And you'll notice that your tailbone starts to untuck, right? You go more into anterior tilt. So start to tuck your tailbone, again, just to learn how to activate the abdominals in this position. And then pull your front ribs down into the ground. the whole midsection down to the ground without shortening so much. You want to keep the muscles long. So you're still shoulders up to the ears. You're still reaching through the toes, reaching through the fingertips in both directions, getting long, but tucking the tail and pulling the front ribs down into the ground while doing so. So there's an elongated position while strengthening. Keep your tailbone tucked and lift your heels, if possible, 1 centimeter or half a centimeter. Tuck your tail so your low back doesn't get the pull. Scoop your tail and then release. Okay. Now, a lot of people, when they lift their legs up, they lift only from their hip flexors and their pelvis starts going like this. Okay. And that kind of arch will probably lead to a compression in the low back. It's not the same as intentionally arching. That's because of the way that the hip flexors pull on the spine. It's hard to anatomically explain that to you without visually showing you, but you'll just feel it that if you lift your legs up without activating your rectus abdominis, so without tucking the tail, if you lift your legs up, it'll probably tug on your low back and cause some compression and discomfort. So don't do that. Okay, so shoulders up to the ears, reach, pull the ribs down towards the ground, scoop the tail so you feel the back of your pelvis completely on the ground. And when you do that, notice if your feet start separating. Mine do. So I squeeze my legs together with the tailbone tucked. Keep both actions. Scoop the tail to lift the legs 1 centimeter off the ground, squeezing the ankles together, scooping the tailbone, pulling the front ribs down, and release. Okay. You're learning how to, manipulate the midsection while the body is in this elongated position. It's definitely not as effective if the arm's over here and you're doing other things with the arms or you're swinging the legs. As far as learning how to control a handstand and control the body while it's in a straight position, it's best to learn how to engage within that position. And a lot of people I find too often are quick to do sit-ups and crunches and whatnot to move the core. But more often than not, the core is not moving as much, whereas the extremities are made for movement and the core is made for stabilization. So I find it not that it's wrong or anything like that to do movements to strengthen the core. It's just not as effective in building body awareness all the time, especially within the yoga practice, let's say. Okay, so if you're throwing tires around and playing football and stuff like that, it might be a different story. But for yoga practice, we want to stabilize the core so that the movement comes from the extremities, what's made for movement. Okay, so scoop your tail last time. And then as you scoop your tailbone, try to hollow out your belly. So pull your belly down towards the ground. And I notice my feet always kind of separate when I do that tucking of the tail and the ribs down. Shoulders also tend to fall away from the ears. So reach the shoulders as much as you can. And now squeeze the ankle bones together. Okay, now lift the feet just 1 centimeter up, tucking the tail. You should feel your buttocks firm up when you do that as well. And your core as you press your low ribs down and you tuck your tail as much as you can. Okay, and then release. Good. That's all we need for now. Come roll over onto your belly or to all fours, hands and knees. Fingers grip the ground. Take an inhale, arch the back, release the abdominals for a moment. Hold here as you exhale. And just let the abs soften so they can have a moment of rest. Walk the hands further forward. And let's find the fingers. Grip the ground. Take an inhale again, arch, look up. As you exhale, tuck the toes for downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's take a breath. Forward to plank pose, inhale, fingers grip the ground. As you exhale, please come to child's pose. Inhale, forward, all fours, hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's do that again. Inhale, forward plank pose. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Inhale, forward, all fours, arch. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog.
Let's take the right leg to the sky on the in-breath. Bend knee, open up the hip. Option to roll the ankle around if you'd like. Straighten the leg, square the hip. Step forward as you exhale. Place the back knee down. Come up onto your fingertips and take a breath. All right, bring the hands on the front knee. Pause here. I suggest pointing the back foot now and leaning your hips further forward. Leaning your midsection a little bit further forward as well. And let's learn to activate the quads. Okay, oftentimes, when a leg is behind our vision, it tends to be bent, okay? And we don't necessarily know how to straighten it using our quads, at least intentionally. So let's intentionally learn to straighten it. You press the top of the back foot down in order to firm up your quads, and your back knee will lift, okay? Keep your weight forward so you don't exert energy here, okay? Release the knee back down and release. And you should feel that really strongly across the thighs, okay? If this is impossible, just think about it. It's the same as lunge pose, right? The major difference here is your foot is pointed. So in lunge pose, a lot of us use that experience of tucking the toes to overactivate. It's kind of complicated, but let's say not overactivate, more lean our body weight into the back foot, and that causes the back leg to straighten. Whereas this forces you, and I would like you to do it again, this forces you to activate the quads. So please do it again. Press the top of the back foot down in order to lift the back knee up. Okay, and then release. Now, a lot of you, when you do this exercise, I know from just watching it live, the foot sickles like this as people do this. I'd like you to evert the foot. That means turn the toes. If you look back at them, turn the toes towards the outer side of the mat. So the foot is going outward as much as you can. Really, it's just straight back, but feels outward. Okay, let's do one more time. Push the top of the back foot down, activating the rectus femoris, the quadriceps here. And then release. All right. With that activation, we can give a little thigh stretch. So walk your right foot out to the right, bend the back knee, and reach for your foot. Might be still a little bit soon for you, depending on your relationship to your quads here. So if this is too intense, use a strap. Okay, and release the thigh stretch. Step back to downward facing dog. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. Left leg to the sky on the inhale. Bend the knee, open up the hip as you exhale. Full breath in. Full breath out. Straighten through the left leg, turn the hips. Step left foot forward. Place the back knee down. Take a moment, breath. Let the body get used to this lunge position. Okay, bring the hands to the front knee. Untuck the back toes, point the foot. Hinge the hips forward, front knee forward, ribs forward. The more forward, the less weight on the back leg. So that's why I'm telling you to do so, to make it easier on you. Check in with your back foot. Make sure it's not sickled in, meaning the toes aren't turned into the midline, but turned outward. So you really feel that like a long line from your center of your thigh bone through your big toe. Okay, now press down through the top of the back foot, firm up the quads. Feel the quads activate to straighten the knee all the way to the sky. Then slowly lower back down. Take a breath. Okay, let's try that again. Again, evert your foot. You might have to look back and see if it's everted. A lot of people struggle with that proprioception, the ability to do that at first. And in handstand, the foot kind of does this really interesting hooking thing, and there's this unconscious tension in the feet. And essentially, it makes it a little bit harder to put the energy in the right spaces. Okay, you notice that when someone is really proficient at handstand, the feet all the way through the fingers, everything is aware. Okay, we have to become aware of everything in order to do a handstand. It's not just the hands, though the hands are the most important. Okay, press the top of the back foot down, lift the back knee up, quads active, knee straight, and then release. At the same time that you're strengthening your quads, you're also warming up your hip flexors or stretching them. Okay, let's do one last round. Press the top of the back foot down, straighten the back knee. Full engagement there, so the knee is straight. And then release. We get to do a quad stretch after that activation. So right hand to the right, left foot to the left. Reach back for your foot. Again, if that's too intense for you, please use a strap. Haven't cued much about the breath, so I hope that you hear my Ujjayi breath and you're matching it. Slow, steady breath. And release. Inhale the plank pose. Chaturanga, exhale. 3 lifts of the chest. Inhale, lift the heart up. Exhale. Again, inhale, lift the heart up. Maybe lift the hands up. Exhale. Lift the heart up, inhale. Shoulders up, hands up. Exhale. Inhale, heart up, hands up. I'm not sure if that was 3 or 4, my apologies. Exhale, release. Come to all fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes, exhale into downward facing Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take an enjoyable breath in and out. Right leg to the sky on the inhale. Knee to chest, round the upper back as much as you can. Inhale, back and up. Step forward as you exhale. High lunge, rise up, inhale. Okay, now in your high lunge, bend the back knee intentionally so you can feel it and turn the back thigh bone in. Hug the legs in side to side. Keeping the legs hugged inside to side, now try to firm the back inner leg up to the sky without pressing the heel back and sinking into the back leg. Keep the back leg up as if you're moving towards a pointed position in the back foot. Okay, that'll teach you how to use your calves for handstand, which is really, actually, let's do that a few times. Place the hands on the front knee, sink the heel back behind you, and then push off the ball mound until the foot is pointed more or less. Okay, then slowly sink back. Then push off of the ball mound. That'll activate your calf muscles. Okay, one more time. Now hold. When the foot is vertical, it's not quite pointed, somewhere in between. Let's keep it there. Okay, again, bend the knee, turn the thigh bone in, squeeze in, and then press the back knee straight so your quads are fully active. Press through the front heel, lift the arms up. Now, when you lift the arms up, the back leg will tend to bend again unconsciously, so just keep it straight for now. Using the back calf muscle so your heel is lifted. Lift the belly. Now, is it possible with the arms up, you can get your shoulders to the ears, but pull your front ribs down right now so we can mimic a handstand. Now, you're going to notice my hands are forward of my shoulders as a result of pulling my front ribs down. That wouldn't make a handstand, so what I'm going to do is lift my shoulders up and take my hands back a little bit with the front ribs down. And now I'm more in a line with the rib cage and my shoulders, my upper arms. Take a breath in. Exhale, release hands to the ground. Inhale, plank.
Exhale, Chaturanga.
Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Let's do a 3-part cobra pose. A lot of you know this from practicing with me, but it's new to this immersion. So those of you that are new to me, pay attention. The first step is to pick the ribs up off the ground. It might feel like you're rounding your back a little. You're just kind of lifting the rib cage up off the ground. Next step is most important. Once you're up here, in order to decompress the spine, you have to press your low rib cage forward towards the front of your mat. And that, pressing it forward, releases the abdomen. It stretches everything we've kind of done so far. And it puts the stretch of the abdominals, or it lengthens the abdominals to put them into a stretch in order to articulate an arch in the full spine, okay, all the way up through the top where the shoulder blades are, even that arches. Okay, then release. So that's 2 parts of the 3-part cobra. If you're new, you might want to watch the first round, but you could try this, okay? So step 1, lift the ribs up as you inhale. Step 2, soften the chest forward, shoulders back. 3, pull the heart through and lift up gently to the degree that feels good on your spine. So not anything that feels compresses. And then release. Okay, if you're new to this, sometimes it takes many rounds or even practices till you understand it in your body. Inhale, lift. Feet can be wide, by the way. Exhale, soften, chest forward and down a little bit, so in front of the shoulders. Now pull the heart forward and up. Take a breath in, lift. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees, inhale. Tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take 1 breath in. Exhale it out. Left leg to the sky. Knee to chest, round the back. Inhale. Again, step forward. High lunge preparation, hands on the front knee. Let's awaken the calf muscles as we did on the other side. So first, make sure your sit bone isn't like wailing out to the left, but straight back behind you. Tailbone pointing straight back. And then release the back heel towards the ground. That's a relaxation of the calf muscles. Okay. And then let's do it on the breath. Inhale, push into the ball mount of the back foot. The heel will lift. Exhale, soften, heel goes back. Inhale, slow, push into the ball mount of the back foot. The heel will lift. Exhale, slow. Again, inhale. Exhale. This time, inhale, come up to vertical with the heel. Hold here. Push, bend the back knee and turn it in. Press the back inner thigh to the sky. Compact the hips. Squeeze the 2 thighs inward to the midline. Then press into your front heel. Keeping that, take the arms up. Soften a bit. Now I take an assessment of my shoulders. See if I can get long, but keep my ribs down. Just like those core drills, ribs down, shoulders up, get long. If you do that, if you pull your ribs down and you go shoulders up, you probably feel your back knee bend. Straighten it. And I check in with my shoulders. I'm fortunate enough to have a monitor of myself so I can see where my shoulders are in front a little bit. So I go up and back. That's why it's good to just take a little video of yourself and check in and see if you're actually doing that. And release. Plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the belly. Soften as you exhale. Pull your heart through, inhale. Press your chest forward. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, tuck toes, downward facing Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward, exhale. High lunge, inhale, rise. Open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Let's place the hands on the hips. Okay, and then move the groin slightly back. And with that, see if you can pull your feet toward each other, warming up the inner thighs and the hamstrings of the front leg. By dragging the front heel back, it's quite interesting. It does get the hamstrings and it gets the inner thighs at the same time, which is quite nice, meaning it activates these muscles, creates a facilitated stretch, but also heats these muscles up, which is important for us. Take the arms out to the sides. Let's do 3 more breaths. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Okay, lift the back heel, straighten through the front leg, inhale, look forward. Exhale, bow forward. Let's hold here, a gentle rounding of the upper back, pull the front ribs in. A gentle tucking of the right sit bone. So tuck the tail slightly to activate the hamstrings. One more breath. Inhale, bend the front knee. Step to down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the belly. Soften. Pull the chest or press it forward to the front of the mat. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. Inhale, rise. Open Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Grinds back slightly. Pull your feet toward each other. There's a pressing down and then pulling in aspect to this. Like if your hands were your feet, you'd press down first before pulling them in, right? So you press down into the ground and then drag towards, and you'll get really that hamstring and adductor inner thighs and back to the legs to activate. Okay, if you don't feel the back of your hamstring on the front leg, you can drag your front heel back as if you're scraping your foot on a rug. You're wiping your foot on a rug, okay? Arms out to the side. Turn the gaze. Three more breaths. One more. Reverse warrior. Exhale, hands to the earth. Back heel up. Inhale, straighten through the front leg, look forward. Exhale, bow forward. Let's hold here, take a breath in. And out. I suggest a little rounding of the upper back. Just pull the ribs slightly back using your core muscles. And a little tucking of the tail, specifically the left sit bone, not really the tailbone. Just tuck the sit bone under slightly so you feel your left hamstring engage. Sorry if I'm off the breath at this point. Bend the front knee. Step on the exhale, down dog. Forward to plank pose, inhale. I'd like to actually come back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, hips up and back. If you can, take a moment to watch me. We're going to pay attention to the calf muscles again. So watch how I shift to plank pose, how I initiate the action from my calf muscles. I push off of the ball mounds of the feet, the heels rise, and then that ripples through from the tailbone tucking through the spine, and that unravels me into plank pose. And then I bend my knees to come back. Okay, so try that with me a few times. Let's do 3 times, we'll roll. But initiating from that calf muscle activation. Okay, so together, inhale, lift your heels up, then scoop the tailbone around through the spine, roll into plank pose. Exhale, bend the knees, lift the tailbone, rise up. Inhale, lift the heels up, then tuck the tail, roll forward. Exhale, bend the knees, lift the tailbone, down dog. One more time. Inhale, lift the heels, roll through the tailbone, through the spine. Now exhale, chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the belly, lift the chest. Feet a little wide. Exhale, soften. Chest between the shoulder blades. Now press the heart forward, then maybe rise. Once the heart is forward, then release. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward, exhale. High lunge, rise, inhale. Open warrior 2. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, side angle preparation. Pull your feet or press your feet down, pull toward one another, then turn the belly and the chest. Option to slide your right fingertips down to the inside of your right foot, left hand to the sky. Remember, the feet press down, then draw in. Two more breaths. All right, let's open up the hips a little bit. So you take your left hand down and we switch to face the other side of the mat. And we do this by heel toeing the right foot down halfway and rolling over the outside edge of the left foot. Now the key is sticking your right butt up to the sky. For most of you, that means turning your chest to the ground will be easier. And it's really here for the target hip stretch of the buttocks. But some of you might be able to open it up and maybe take the arm up or over your ear. But really make sure it's about the hips here, the right hip stretching, so you can lift and press the buttocks to the sky. One more. Okay, and release. Come back to center. Now take a short stance, back toes turn in, and lengthen the chest forward. Many options here, but first bow forward. So you could either stay right here like this. You could do a shoulder stretch, which will require more balance by interlacing the hands. Could do reverse namaste with the palms, like so. Either way, 3 more breaths. The balance will force you to activate your muscles, specifically the hamstrings and the abductors. Okay, and release the hands if you have interlaced hands. Now, pivot the back heel up. Once again, I'd like you to just practice the calf muscles. Release the heel. Then point the foot so the heel rises up. Exhale, slow, release the heel. Inhale, lift the heel up. Exhale, slow, release the heel. Inhale it up. All right, ready for this? This will be fun for you. Plant the thumbs strongly into the ground. A lot of you are going to have to bend the front knee a little bit, but if you can, keep it straight and try your best. Flex the front foot, point the back foot. Okay, so they're both active in opposite directions. And see if you can lift your right heel forward and up. And then place it back down. That should be humbling. Step back to down dog. Forward to plank pose. If you're laughing, that's totally cool.
Chaturanga.
Slide the hands wide, fingertips, inhale. Softens so your low back decompresses. Press your low belly, ribs, heart forward. Inhale. And exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Luckily, we have a left side. Inhale, lift it up. Step forward. Push down, rise, inhale. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, forearm to the thigh, hand to the hip. Groins back, same idea. Press the feet down first, then pull them toward each other and turn the belly. Sliding the left fingertips towards the ground. Right hand up. Let's do a few more breaths. And release. Okay. Again, heel toe the front foot halfway down the mat, maybe less depending. Outside edge of the right foot and press your left butt up to the sky. For a lot of you, it's going to be easier with chest facing the ground. That'll be enough and it'll target the buttocks appropriately. Some of you might be able to still get the hip to stretch while turning the chest, taking the arm up. Don't worry about what it looks like. It's not really supposed to be a side plank. It's really supposed to be a hip stretch. Okay, and release. We take pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Back heel down, toes in. Wag the tail straight back. And bow. Now you have the option, if you want to increase the required balance of the pose, you can take your hands any positioning behind your back, forcing your front leg, hopefully, to activate a little micro tuck of the tailbone. Sorry, I mean sit bone in particular. Okay, release the hands slowly. Come up onto your fingertips, thumbs, anchor point. And let's do a few times back heel lifts. Even try to go a little bit further this time. Try to come all the way up to the big toe itself. Then slowly roll back, heel. Again, inhale. Really point through the foot. Exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale. All right, now bring the heel up, vertical, flex the front foot, firm up your arms, push through them, and now try to lift your left leg off the ground. Take a breath in and out. And release. Downward facing dog. That's the humble pose for today. Abhyasa repetition is what is required to develop that strength, and it's not an easy one. Inhale, forward plank. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Hands on the front knee, come up and pause. All right, one more time. Sink into the back heel, point it and try to come up to the ball mound of the foot, or sorry, toe, the toe. Then again, sink slowly. It should be graceful, slow, and smooth. Okay, graceful, slow, and smooth. You're feeling the clunkiness, the rigidity. See if you can kind of slow it down and really focus on moving like you're moving through water. Okay, now, so watch. Use that in order to transition right into your warrior three. But scoop your right sit bone to activate the hamstrings. Take the arms out to the side. Some of you might swim your arms forward. 2 more breaths. I like a bent standing leg for now. Bring the hands back to the knee with control. Slow, bend the front knee. Reach with your foot. Find your toe. Slowly lower back to the ball mound of the foot. And then release the fingertips to the ground. Okay. This time, straighten through the front leg with a flexed foot. Lengthen the chest. A micro tuck of the right sit bone in order to activate the hamstring so you don't overstretch it. And bow. Full breath in. And out. All right, now bend the front knee. Hands out in front. Place the fingers to the palms to the ground, preferably off the yoga mat if you have wood floor. Grip the ground with your fingers. Now here's the hard part. Ready? Lift your left leg up like you're doing warrior three. Then lift your right heel up off the ground. Have fun with that. Then slowly lower it back down. 2 more. Inhale, lift the right heel up off the ground. Exhale, slowly lower it back down. Last round. Exhale, slowly lower it back down. Step back to down dog and observe your right and left hip. Right one should be more or less heated up. You feel the tapas there, the intensity. All right, forward to plank. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, inhale, lift. Soften. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Chest goes forward. Exhale, release. All fours. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Inhale, hands to the front knee. And let's work with the back leg again. So back heel softens. And then lift the back heel up. Point through the foot all the way to the big toe. Gracefully move back. Ball mound. Heel. Inhale, heel comes up. Ball mound comes up, pushing off the big toe. Slow. Back to the ball mound. Heel releases back. Again, push. Gracefully move through it. Okay, now we transition all the way. Lift the right leg up. Tuck your left sit bone so you feel your left glute muscles fire up. Left hamstrings activate. Same with the right one, lifting the right leg up activates the hamstrings here. It's one of the postures that does require. Okay, take the arms out to the sides or maybe forward. Stay with the breath. Hands come slowly to the front knee. Lower slowly. Toe, ball mount. Then release the hands to the ground. Okay, flex through the front foot. Lengthen the chest. Micro tuck left sit bone, getting the buttocks and hamstrings active. Of course, without rounding the back so much. So you're not trying to inhibit the stretch, just trying to activate enough to create a gentle resistance against the stretch. Okay, come forward. Now the hard one, plant the hands out in front. Last on this side, fingers grip the ground. Right leg up, lift the left heel up. Slowly lower it back down. Again, lift the left heel up. Slowly lower it back down. Inhale, lift the left heel up. Slowly lower it back down. Okay, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward plank pose. Chaturanga. Fingers wide, inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Pull the heart forward and up. And release. Inhale to all fours, hands and knees. Okay, down dog. Let's do one more stretch of the hips. Take your right shin across the mat. Before we're ready here, keep the back toes tucked. A short one here, so just keep the back toes tucked and reach back with the back heel as you bow to your left side, so chest towards your foot. If you can, you align your foot with your chest, or even, let's say chest. Sometimes I pretend like I'm taking a phone call. The right ear to the foot. Hello? All right, come on up. I want to keep the energy going. Step back, down dog. On the left side. Turn the back leg in, reach back. Bow to the right. One more breath. All right, come back. Step back, down dog. And walk to the front of the yoga mat. Hands to the hips, arch, and rise all the way up. Okay, so now you need a wall. And I want to show you why we're really focusing. Well, while you're standing here, why we focus so much on that movement of the ankles. So this is really the mechanics of jumping off of your feet. And most people miss that. And when they do a handstand hop, they do something like this. Okay, where they swing the top leg instead of using the articulation of the ankle all the way through the knee. So if you watch, don't do this yet. If you watch, I actually push this leg. If you watch, notice my upper shoulders. You'll see that as I push, if I do it in slow motion, it puts me right into that handstand prep position, but with one leg up. If I don't do that, most people will end up like this, okay, where the forearm is nowhere near vertical, and then this body's doing some sort of arched position, okay? Instead, you can use that. I do suggest lining up vertical to begin with, but you can use the push of the foot to actually move your body over more vertical, okay? So today's not really focused on balance, but I do want you to articulate through that bottom foot, through the pointing of the foot, to get your forearms, rib cage, and body as vertical as possible, and the weight in your hands. So have a wall behind you. I don't usually use a mat when I do handstands. It feels better on the wrist when there's a hard surface for me. So what I'm going to invite you to do is you come close to a wall so that it's there for safety, but you're not going to use it. You take your fingers to the ground like handstand prep position. You lift both heels up to begin with and find your handstand prep position with heels up. Then take your left leg to the sky. Left leg is dumb. It doesn't do anything, right? The right leg is the articulation through the ankle. And you just take a little hop and then back down with gracefulness. A hop and then back down. A hop and then back down. Okay, you do that on one side. So go ahead, and you'll probably use your dominant side first. So go ahead and do that, whichever leg feels comfortable. Focusing on the articulation of the ankle as the jump off point. Okay, I'll give you a few more moments to try it on one side. And of course, you're going to want to video yourself doing this later and throw it in the Facebook group so I can see and support you. Make sure, of course, I'm not mentioning it so much, I should mention a little bit more, that your fingers are gripping the ground, that your forearms are vertical like the block, like we did in the first handstand prep position. I think that was like day 1. And that your rib cage is rounding, pulling your ribs back like we did in the first exercise today and last practice, okay? Let's try the other side. Usually your non-dominant leg feels really clunky and awful. So you do it with me this time. Your fingers grip the ground. First, find handstand prep position, forearms vertical, shoulders towards the ears, ribs back. Then your opposite leg goes up, and you use your non-dominant jumping leg to articulate through the ankle and push a couple of times. Okay, now I'm going to add some little things on, okay? In the lunge, I had you squeeze your legs into the midline and turn the back leg in while keeping the leg straight. Okay, the back leg straight, turned in and squeezed in. I'll say it one more time. Back leg straight, turned in and squeezed in. Now in handstand, a lot of times what people do is the exact opposite. They sort of bend the top leg, then they externally rotate, and then it goes away from the midline, and you get something like this. Okay, and it twists the pelvis. How do I explain this? It makes it so that your body has to catch yourself side to side. You don't want to be worried about side to side movement. You want to feel it straight up and down. And only thing that you want to worry about is front to back movement. It's enough to worry about that, okay? So if you, maybe I can just move this back an inch just so you can see my legs. I think you should be able to see it there. Okay, please don't do this without a wall, but I'm going to show you in the middle so you have more visibility. Okay, so instead of flailing with the top leg, which was your back leg of lunge, you turn it in, straighten it, okay, and squeeze it in, and then keeping that as you jump. Turned in, squeezed in, okay? You're not trying to balance again. I just want to give you that turn in, squeeze in, and keep it straight. Okay, try one more round at the wall on both sides. Turn the leg in, squeeze it in. Of course, your fingers are most important. Of course, you're trying to articulate through your feet. Turn in, squeeze in. It's even okay if you crisscross your legs across the midline as you go up. It's another way of doing it. All right. Take your time, a couple more breaths. And let's do another little hip opener here. What did I want to do? Oh yeah. So you'll take your legs in Janu Shirshasana, but you'll bow forward. This will stretch the hamstrings and adductors of the straight leg. So bow over your foot side, firming up the right leg. And you can be working on your foot articulation here, that eversion we worked a little bit on in the beginning. Your big toe presses forward and your pinky toe pulls back. Most of us have an unconscious inverting ankle thing that we do. So you just try to switch that. That'll help you with your jumps because keeping those muscles active will keep the ankle aligned and distribute the force into the ground instead of wibble wobbling at the ankle joint. Come on up. Switch sides. Evert the foot. Coming on up. Take both legs wide. It doesn't have to be so wide, just to a degree where you don't want to feel a stretch when you're seated, okay? So you can get your spine upright and your pelvis upright, and then find your everting of your feet. Now imagine your two sit bones could go down and out towards the heels. It should firm up your legs appropriately, and you can bow forward in this position. And come on up. All right, option to take Shavasana. I'm going to lead a guided meditation. If you're doing a guided meditation, I always suggest sitting up on a blanket if you're going to do cross-legged like this, or if you do shins like this and seated on a block. So if you want to come to Shavasana, you're welcome to. And you can tune me out as you lay on your back. And from here on, I'll be talking to those of you that are meditating. Everyone that's in Shavasana, you can just rest and release. And take a breath in together. And a breath out. In the sutras, the Patanjali refers to as ways of finding equanimity of the mind. He talks all about this abhyasa, practice,
this tapas, the rigor of it. And he says that in one of the practices to experience equilibrium of the mind is to control the breath, to control the life force, prana, that flows through this body. If we take control of the pattern, and it creates this equanimity of the mind. And it's interesting that, of course, science backs this up, showing that slow exhalations stimulate the vagus nerve, which triggers our release of stress or releases the fight or flight response. We could say that's the parasympathetic nervous system that starts to kick in as we relax, or that's what creates the relaxation. So to do so, let's do a pranayama where we breathe in for 4 counts. We'll start with exhaling for 4, and then we'll progressively lengthen the exhales, eventually to 8, maybe to 12. I won't be counting the whole time, but I'll start us off. We use the gentle sound of ujjayi, but it's a little more subtle than the asana practice. It's not so vibrant and loud. It's more of just a little bit of a whisper. I might try to make it just slightly louder to remind you to breathe, but I also personally want to get more subtle. Okay, so here we go. Slow breath out all the way. Then inhale through the nose. Exhale to a 4 count. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now add a little lingering of a moment of nothing. Then inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Linger at the top, neither inhaling nor exhaling, just being. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger at the bottom. Then inhale for a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Linger at the top. Now progressively on the exhale, try to make it a count of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger. Exhale for 6 if possible. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger. Inhale for 4. Linger. 7. Linger. 4. 8. Continue with 8. After this exhale, just be in stillness. And feel the experience of being alive. Wherever you are, come back to your breath. Bring awareness back to your body and slowly awaken fingers and toes. If you're in Shavasana, come to a seated position, take your time. If you're in meditation seat, you can stretch the arms. If you're going back into your day, it's best to give your legs a little massage. Make sure that you're grounded. Try to touch your feet. Together we place the hands in front of the heart. Thank you so much for your practice today, for your efforts. Hope you've enjoyed the ankle articulation and connecting to your body again within handstand. Namaste. Thank you very much. Nice to share this practice with you. Again, feel free to post in the Facebook group anything that you like tips on, or you just want to celebrate and throw it up there and say yippee, and excited to keep with the practice. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye for now, that is. Thank you to Second Wind Yoga Mats.